session is called Stand Out by Being Secure, and we've got our friends at Practice Protect on the line as well, so we'll introduce them properly in a second. But we also have Diane from BizInc, our marketing operations manager. She's on hand if you have any sort of technical questions. She's monitoring the chat, so familiarize yourself with that, and yeah, we can kick off. So let's get into it. We've got a few in here already, so let's go. I just had a quick question to kick things off. If you can use that chat panel, I'm hoping this will be a interactive session, so you can use that to let me know answers to a few questions I have. So the first one, on screen, have you found it hard to find a unique selling point for your firm? So just use the chat to let me know yes or no. Diane's got the question there for you as we go as well. So I've been working in the profession for a little while now, and obviously helping with marketing and that side of things. I have heard that it can be, for most firms, mainly probably the firms we work with are the smaller sort of typical 1 to 2 partner firms. I think it can be quite challenging to find that, and I can see that in the chat as well. A few of you found that hard. So we often,
and if I could cut in here as well, it's been interesting because I've had this chat with some firms as well, and what I've found from speaking to firms is that they've said that they've found that unique selling point, but then it's kind of happened like organically. So they've then started working with one industry. So say, started working with hospitality, and then by, just kind of naturally organically, they've then veered towards that industry. So I've heard of that, but I haven't heard so much of firms like deliberately going out and at the start of their journey saying, we're going to work with this vertical, we're going to work with this niche.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think people are, all different stages, right? And I think you're right. Often it just is something that happens naturally. Sometimes people have a, prior experience in a certain industry. So that might be more sort of what you'd expect, right? To follow that. That's where your connections are, your experience. But sometimes it's like, I just got a heap of, gyms or whatever that started to sign up, and I like working with them, and that's how it happens. So that can be one angle, definitely like an industry specialization. Probably what we're going to be talking about today, right? One of the reasons we're doing this session is what's a sort of an easy win to help you stand out. And we sort of say like standing out in that sea of sameness, right? If you put yourself in the shoes of a potential client, a business owner in whatever industry, and you look out at the potential, accountants and bookkeepers out there, it can sort of be looking a bit like that, a little bit like that sea of sameness where accountants are offering similar services or, packages now, similar pricing. It can be hard to work out, the differences. Obviously, for most, it would be like their team and their approach that does set them out, help them stand out. But what we're going to talk about today is obviously using security to be a differentiator for your firm. So we'll get into some more tips from that on that side. On to the next slide, I'll introduce you properly, John. So if you can give us a little background about yourself, about your role at Practice Protect and what you guys do there, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. Sorry. And sorry, I jumped the gun and
that's all right.
before I was formally introduced. So look, thanks for having me on, Anthea. Thanks for hosting this. So yeah, I'm John Malloy, and I'm the head of business development here at Practice Protect. So for those of you who may not heard about us and what we do, we're a data security platform for accountants. So what we do is we help accountants secure access to your applications. So securing and managing those passwords in a convenient way for your team as well, making it easy. And then we also help with cybersecurity training. So we do training with our clients, and we also help with the compliance aspect, as that's an increasingly important factor for firms, making sure that you don't just have the security, but you're also compliant with the different data security legislation, and also crucially those insurance policies, making sure that you're compliant with them and that they're still valid.
Awesome, thanks for that. I know you guys have a great product and service there, and raving fans. We hear about it from BizInc, so we're glad to have you on today. And obviously we've got a good sort of collaboration that we'll get into a bit more. Next slide. First up, I've got another question to really kick off the session today. So for everyone on the call running an accounting or bookkeeping firm, can you let me know, do you think security matters to your clients? We'll hear from John shortly about, the from Practice Protect's experience and that sort of stuff, but is this something that your clients ask you about? Do you get, questions about different maybe scams that are going around and that sort of stuff? Is it something you found that's important? I know for most of our clients that would be yes. We've got that coming into the chat as well. Thanks. So I'll probably hand over to you, John, and you can let us know why. Why is it a big deal? Why does security matter?
Yeah, I mean, definitely it is, and it's because with accountants, with the kind of data that you're working with, like it's all financial data, it's all sensitive information. So if anything does go missing, then there is a repercussion for that. As well, security matters because the cost of something going wrong can be massive. So we can talk about some examples later, but we've seen incidents which have cost businesses. One which it wasn't a client of ours, it was a client of an accounting firm, but they got hit by ransomware, and the ransom which they actually ended up paying, they had to pay, was $250,000 to get their information back. That's like the biggest one we've heard of, but more frequently, it's the small businesses which are being hit, and it's amounts $10,000 getting paid to a phony bank account, $20,000 getting rewired somewhere. So it really matters because of the financial repercussions. And then also if you compound on top of that, there's the mandatory breach reporting legislation, which means that then if you do have a breach, you need to alert all of your clients about that. So it's not just the financial side, there's also the reputational repercussions. Okay, and that's what we that's why we try to help. What we try to enforce is making sure that firms don't ever have to send out that email. They don't ever have to update their clients saying, hey guys, we've had a breach. That's what we try to stop.
Yeah, no one wants to be that firm that has to send that email, for sure. It's not a nice feeling, not a nice experience, not a nice email to have to send, for sure. And I think that's, you don't have to look too far nowadays to come across these sorts of stories, right? Like I think maybe everyone in Australia at the moment is on the receiving end of some dodgy text messages at the moment as well. So maybe not directly related to accounting and that sort of stuff, but it's out there, right? And your clients are going to be concerned about it. So that's why, as an accounting firm, like John's mentioned, trust is so important. Putting emphasis on your efforts here could help you stand out.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And the point is as well is that it is getting tougher. Like, hackers, they're getting smarter. So, every year there's new scams like targeting people. Like you mentioned about text, there's one going around. I think is it called Flubot?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, no, it's been going around in a while, and someone will get a text and then they'll click on a link and then their phone will get infected and then it will contact all of their contacts and they spread exponentially. And that's why we see so many of these, because it's easy for hackers to start. It's easy for them to send out hundreds of thousands of phishing emails. So that's why we need to be on our toes with this, is because it's a daily occurrence. Part and parcel with having an inbox is knowing that you will receive scam emails, and you need to be aware of that and make sure that your team are aware and trained about it too.
Yeah, it's not a fun side, but it is the realities of doing business online, isn't it? Or just life nowadays. Yeah. I think you were going to mention, John, maybe just some examples you've seen recently of some like impersonation scams that are going around. Would you be able to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So these are the most common ones we're seeing affecting accountants and bookkeepers. I was actually on a webinar last week with ABN, with the Australian Bookkeepers Network, and lots of bookkeepers on there said that they've been targeted by this. So what we're seeing a spike of is, a client's email gets hacked, and then they'd email the accountant or the bookkeeper saying, asking for them to approve an invoice or to pay a payment. Okay, and then obviously that payment isn't going to the client, it's going to some other account somewhere. And as soon as the money goes into there, it's wired out straight away. But we've seen instances of these where $50,000 has been sent and then gone missing.
Yeah, wow.
And these ones are particularly difficult to protect against because it's actually coming from a trusted source. So you can't block these kind of scams because it's coming from your client. It's their emails which have been hacked. So that's why, and we'll talk about this later on one of the points, training's so important, because it could be an actual legitimate email which a spam filter would never pick up, but you need to make sure that you've got the training and the processes to deal with that.
Yeah. Has anyone seen or heard of that one that John's just mentioned, let us know in the chat, or any others that might be, going around or affecting your clients. Let us know as we go as well. And yes, should have mentioned this at the start. There is going to be a time for a Q&A at the end, but if you have any questions for John as we go, definitely send them in for sure. I'll just move on to the next bit, which is more probably me on my soapbox about why does marketing matter. So, we've established obviously security being quite an important part of business and life now, particularly for an accounting firm that's trying to rely and build trust. Let me know what the main cause of growth has been for your firm, because I'd say for most of our clients it's probably referrals. I think that's probably pretty standard. As we said, goes back to trust, right? So if you're relying on that sort of word of mouth, it's a good thing to get referrals, definitely a sign of something going good, doing good service and that sort of stuff. But it's not it's not a full marketing plan. Definitely, it's not a a reliable sort of business strategy to wait for others to refer, if and when they will. And so marketing is important to keep your business out there, right? I think most people can understand that. If you have a business plan that's pretty light on in the marketing section, we know that most accountants don't have marketing plans full stop from the surveys we've done, or if they do, it's hasn't been updated or followed and that sort of stuff. So without that, you're just sort of relying on business to come if and when it will. So marketing does really matter, and people just won't find you. That's why it matters. They need to be able to find your website, or to even if it is a referral, most people will probably still Google you. So marketing plays a big part in all of that sort of stuff. And even I'll just mention, even if you don't have like big plans for growth or scaling or anything like that, you're sort of happy to keep your firm small. I know everybody has different goals and that sort of stuff. Marketing is still important just to keep in touch with your clients, and we're going to talk a bit more about like educating your clients. Obviously, particularly today, it's going to be about security, but just keeping your clients informed, it's a good way to continue those referrals and keep your firm top of mind with them. So marketing obviously can be more about lead generation and growth, but it can also just be about communication and keeping in touch with your clients too. So it is an essential part of a business. Now, John, I'll get you to give us some of the tips. We've got an ebook that we're going to give you more details on, and we're just going to touch on 3 out of the 6 tips that are in the ebook today. So, John, what are some tips that people can take, hopefully fairly soon, to get their firm a bit more secure?
Yeah, sure. And the point with these tips is that they're tips that you could implement today, and are relatively cost free as well. So the idea here is what can you leave now and implement to make your firm more secure. And the first one is passwords. So making sure that you're setting strong passwords and you're using multi-factor authentication. Now that's across all of your apps as well. So I know that Xero, lots of the other applications do mandate that you have to use 2FA. But that's not the same for emails, okay? And emails is where we're seeing the majority of breaches coming from, okay? I touched on those payment impersonation scams, okay? Which you may have seen, a client's been hacked and then you've received a dodgy payment request. The reason why they're being sent is because somebody's hacked that inbox, they've hacked a weak password or they've stolen one, okay? So the first step is making sure that you're setting strong, unique passwords. Okay, again, they need to be long passwords. Now, the reason for that is because the shorter the password is, the easier it is for a hacker to hack that using a brute force bot. Okay, so make them strong, make them long, and then use multi-factor as well. And then the next step, I've already touched on this, it's all about training your team. Okay, so train your team that they're actually cybersecurity assets, not risks. Okay, because 99% of scams need some kind of human interaction. Okay, so you hear about a firm that was hit by ransomware, and the reason why they got hit by ransomware is because somebody clicked on a link in an email which downloaded it. Okay, for those payment impersonation scams, the money's gone missing because somebody's looked at that, they haven't followed a process, and they've sent the money internationally, or they sent it to another account. Okay, phishing scams of people losing their username and passwords, they're stolen because they're tricked into typing them into the wrong place. Okay, so there's a running theme with so many scams, and that's the human part. Okay, so if you cut out the human risk, you've greatly brought down your cybersecurity risk. So there's heaps of different resources online that you can use for this. Like we provide training to our clients every month, but there's lots of other resources on there. So a couple of good ones is scamwatch.gov.au. So that's the government website. You can sign up for their updates and then you'll receive phishing alerts. Also, there's the Australian Cybersecurity Centre. If you Google them, you can find their website, and they've got lots of handy training material. They've got phishing tests which you can share with your team. Okay, so that's a couple of resources we recommend there. And also with your team, I'd recommend that you actually just make cybersecurity and training part of your day-to-day. So one thing that we do internally is whenever we receive a phishing email, we take a screenshot of it and send it around to the team. Obviously, I don't recommend you actually forward the dodgy email with the dodgy link. But if you send that screenshot, then you can just put a couple of lines in educating your team saying how you knew it was a scam. Okay, so that serves two purposes. First, you're training your team, but also it's more than likely that if you've received that phishing email, someone else on your team has as well. So it's a quick, easy way for you to update your team and make sure that they're not clicking dodgy links, and always keeping it front of mind. Okay, and the final point before I stop rambling is all about securing your remote team members. Okay, so obviously there was a huge shift in working. People are working from home, and with the lockdowns across most of Australia at the moment, that's been reinforced. So making sure that you've accounted for team members working from home when you're looking at cybersecurity. Okay, so for instance, one of our top recommendations if your team are working from home is to have them using a business device. Okay, so for instance, me here, I'm working from home at the moment, but I've just got my business laptop and I've got that plugged in and I'm good to go. Okay, that's important because say if team are using home computers, you don't know what's on them, you don't know what kind of security is on them, and you don't know, say, if it's shared with their teenage kids and they've been downloading free games. Okay, so making sure that you've got some control around those and around your remote team goes a long way. Like Anthea said, we are launching an ebook, so that contains a bit more information about how you can secure your remote team and also some of the other recommendations that we make.
Yeah, those are great. Thanks a lot, John. And I particularly like that second point, given that you mentioned most rely on, some sort of human element. I didn't realize quite how many, to change it from being a risk to an asset is something I could imagine would be very, very valuable. So, and obviously you guys offering the monthly training is a way to keep that going, right? As you said, all these scammers are getting smarter. There's going to be new ones pop up all the time. That's just the reality of it. So it pays to continue that training, I guess, and just keep up to date.
Yeah, definitely. It's the human element. Everyone makes mistakes. So you just want to make sure that, if someone does, it's not to do with security and it's not going to have that, major repercussion on your business.
Yeah, pays to check for sure. Yeah. All right, well, now I'm going to get into some of the tips on more of the marketing front. So you've got the good security, you're working with Practice Protect, say you're all set up, right? How do you actually go and use that in your marketing as a differentiator, as we've been talking about? So if I can get on to the next slide, sorry. The first one that we've got here is adding a page to your website. So this is a page, I've just got a screenshot here. I can send you more details afterwards, but it's a page we do for Practice Protect clients that have a website with BizInc. So, it's talking about your security practices. Obviously, if you're using Practice Protect, that would have details about the protection that's there if one of your staff members leaves, the one platform that you log into through Practice Protect, the strong passphrases, all the features, right, that you would have in Practice Protect. So just a little page, there's a video on there that talks about that. And I think the importance of this is, like, again, you're dealing with people's finances. There's got to be that level of trust here. If we're looking out at the sort of sea of sameness, it's got to be something to sort of help you stand out and show, we actually care about these things. We're on the front foot. We're not, just untrained about, security and the risks and things like that. So if you've got these good security practices, it makes sense to tell the world about it. And a page on your website is a relatively easy way to get started with that. So if you are a BizInc client who uses Practice Protect and you don't have a page like this on your website, send us a message. We can get that added to your site for free. So that's a pretty easy step one. Our next suggestion is about education, really. So educating your clients and your prospects about, maybe security breaches. I know most people are probably doing that, sharing if there's an ATO scam or something like that you come across. But going an extra step and being a bit more proactive is probably what we'd recommend here around, you can see again another screenshot on screen there about tips for keeping your business data secure. So it's sharing information with business owners themselves, not just talking about what you guys do internally. So BizInc provides a library of blogs for our website and marketing clients. A bunch of them are around security and technology, like this one on screen. And Practice Protect also will be blogging regularly, putting information out there about best practices or things to look out for, the training and that sort of stuff. So why not share that stuff to your clients as well if it's relevant to business owners too. So I think really the idea here is just to, like it says, it's helpful blog content. It's just educating people, and that's all going to work together to keep your firm top of mind.
Yeah. And if I could interject as well, like it's a really good point for you guys to be an authority to your clients. And also we're seeing that, your cybersecurity risk profile is actually affected by the businesses that you work with. Okay, so if you have, clients who have no security and they're, really loose with that, then that's then actually a risk for your business. Okay, because, if I go back to the most common ones we're seeing at the moment, the payment impersonation scams, they're being sent out not because an accounting firm's being breached or is being hacked, but because one of their clients' emails has been hacked. Okay, so for you guys to educate your clients and let them know about the security you've put in place and what they should be putting in place will also then help lower your risk profile as well.
That's a really good point. So do you think that the best thing they can do to sort of, mitigate that is to educate? Is that probably the best thing there, to try and train them as much as you can from this side of things?
Yeah, it's all about, educating your clients, like letting them know what you're doing and letting them know why you're doing it as well. So, you've got these blogs like talking about your data security. If it's all explained in there, then they can look at that and then think to, apply it to their own business.
Yeah, fantastic. It's a really good point, isn't it? It's not just about your firm. It's, if you're their business advisor, think about how else you can help them and, essentially lower your risk as well too. So yeah, a really good point. The next one we've got is all related. It's again about educating and about letting them know what you do, but using email marketing to do that basically. So you could reach out via email, let your clients know about your practices, again, what you've got in place, but also, like we've just mentioned, keep them up to date with the latest changes or, best practices that they should implement, and also obviously maybe what to watch out for with certain scams that might be going around at the moment. Mm-hmm. So we will be sending out a couple of email templates as like freebies for those that register today. Again, that'll be part of the email we send afterwards. So we've got some suggestions that you might like to start with, just a template to help you get these sorts of emails out there. I don't know if you can tell too much about the screenshot on screen, but it's talking about if you use Practice Protect, the security measures that you would have in place. So more about letting them know what you've got and to keep building that trust and help them be assured about what you do.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd say with these as well, like let them know about current scams, because with cybercrime, like what we see is hackers, they'll always use whatever's relevant or whatever's in the news. Okay, so when COVID first hit last year, there were lots of scams, talking about, with alerts, getting people to click on. They were talking about that. We always see increase of scams, around Christmas, that kind of time. And also, but most relevant here would be end of financial year and tax season. Around end of financial year, there's a huge spikes in scams going around, impersonating the ATO, impersonating MyGov. And that's a really good opportunity to have another touch point with your clients and again, educate them. So that website I mentioned earlier, scamwatch.gov.au, that lists out what all of the current scams are. And you can actually sign up to get updates with them too, which is really handy. So if you get their updates and if you see any which you think may be relevant or like, maybe targeting your clients, like put together an email, let them know about that. And then you can be the authority, you can be the announcement there. And again, it's another good touch point, another way of providing value to your clients.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. We've got a link to that website, ScamWatch, in the chat. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. I think that's a great idea. Obviously, yeah, they're going to be using, I remember COVID now. Yeah, there was a lot going around last year as well. So yeah, those sorts of scams were big for sure. And yeah, there'll be something new. So it's better to keep on the front foot. Yeah. Next up, we've got a few more tips from the ebook, which is more around how to take this a step further, not just sort of in your marketing or in some emails and things, but how to actually use it in your sales process, which some people might think it's a bit of overkill. But if you think about, the fact that this is such a pressing concern, such a risk, right? It makes perfect sense to sort of deal with these queries right from the get-go in your pitch or your initial meetings. So it could be, including details on your practices, like your security practices in your client proposal that you send through. It could be somewhere in like the follow-up after a meeting or something like that. Or you could maybe go a step further and, showing's better than telling. So you could potentially demo some of the features, during a sales meeting that you use through Practice Protect. So again, it's just taking a step further and trying to help your firm differentiate yourself in a competitive market. Mm-hmm. So that's, I'll just go to this next slide because we've got an ebook, as we've touched on. So we're going to send a link to that shortly so you can download. Obviously, what we've spoken about today has just been a real short little excerpt of what's in there. There's a few more tips, obviously around security and marketing and how you can pull that together a bit more. So we hope you find that useful. We've obviously collaborated on that. We think it's a good little connection between obviously what Practice Protect does there on the security side and how we can help get that out in front of people. So you will be receiving your free copy in that email afterwards as well. So Diane's got a link to that too if you want to take a look. But if you have any questions around what we've spoken about today, put it into the chat right away. We can have a look right now while we've got John or I on the line. But you can also, if you want to chat to either of us a bit more. So if you need a bit more help with security or you want to find out more about Practice Protect, book a demo with them to see what they do. I know our clients can attest to how great that your service is there. So Diane's going to put a link to book a demo with Practice Protect if you want to chat about security. And if you'd like to chat to us at BizInc, we're going to have a link to our demo as well. So if you want to chat about websites, marketing or content, we can help you. Leanne's just saying Practice Protect has been a great asset to our firm. So that's good to hear in the chat as we go live. We hear that all the time. We definitely do hear you guys have raving fans. So yeah, definitely have a look. Yeah,
that's great to hear. Thanks for that, Leanne, and thanks for that, Anthea. And we definitely hear the same. And I think what's great about with BizInc is accountants, and similar to myself, like I know nothing about websites. I can't write a blog to save my life. I can barely write a legible email. So having someone that you can work with on that, lots of our clients are working with you guys too, and we hear great things, and it's about managing that so that accountants don't have to be marketing experts.
Yeah, I think it's all related, right? Like it's all about doing what you do best, right? It's why people, hand over their taxes to a specialist and their accountant, that sort of stuff. So we all have our skill sets. For some it's writing, for some it's numbers. That's just, keeping it very basic. For some it's security, right? So yeah. I've just got a question from David for you guys. Is Practice Protect only for Australian firms?
No, good question. So no, we work with firms all over the world. So Australia, New Zealand, US, Canada, got some back in my homeland in the UK as well. So yeah, all around.
Awesome. All right, thanks for that. And I know a lot, particularly now, it's a bit of a shift towards this, but a lot of those firms, maybe they're based in Australia or wherever, but would have potentially some clients. Some staff members in other parts of the world, right? So not just remote, like working from home in Brisbane where we are, but, potentially other countries as well. How does that sort of work?
Yeah, so it works globally. So I actually saw a comment. So Leanne's just commented saying that they're based in the US and they've got employees in the Philippines. So, that's really common. So, we're working with global firms. So, at the moment, a lot of our firms are Australia based, but we're actually seeing more and more firms signing up in the US and Canada. We're having more firms sign up from those regions than from Australia currently.
Fantastic. I've just got the next slide for the Q&A, but we've had some already. There will be a little poll after we exit this webinar as well, just to let you know. So if you do want to find out more about Practice Protect or BizInc, you can let us know that way. Otherwise, you've got the links in the chat to book a chat right away if you would like to. But if there's any other questions while we're on, please send them in. We'll wait around for a couple of minutes in case there's anything else you'd like to quiz us about or find out about Practice Protect while we're here. Otherwise, if you have to go now, we appreciate your time this morning where I am. We've just got a question. David would like to chat to Leanne if that's all right. So that's good. It sounds like Leanne's a glowing reference for you guys anyway. So yeah, looks like they're connected. Great. Awesome. Well, we appreciate your time on the call today, John. We hope.
Thanks. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah.
Awesome. We hope you guys have found this useful, and we hope you find the ebook useful as well. Definitely reach out to us if you have any questions about obviously security for Practice Protect or marketing for us. We're happy to help moving forward.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll wrap it up there. I'll stop the sharing and we'll chat to you all next time.
Awesome. Thanks, Anthea. Thanks everyone for joining. See ya.
See you later.